Hey everybody, Steve Burns here. Now let's look at using photographic imagery to commit to a brush preset. This is actually going to be pretty cool. Now keep in mind you're going to be utilizing images in a folder on the server, and I'm going to go ahead and hit Command or Control Shift and O. That's going to toggle between Bridge and Photoshop. And I'm inside your student work files folder or additional subfolders. Now keep in mind that throughout the semester this is going to change. I'm going to add folders and add photographs as I feel it's going to best represent a better understanding of Photoshop or exercises for a Photoshop tutorial. You're going to access the brush tutorial folder. I'm going to double click on it and you're going to see various images titled brush 1 all the way through 9. Now at the making of this video, that's what we have now, but once again, I'll add more later. I targeted brush number 1, and you can double click on it or select it and hit enter to go back into Photoshop. Okay. All right. Now we're going to create a brush based on this particular cloud. By default, I'm going to have a single layer, obviously, and I'm going to go ahead and alter or duplicate that layer. Command or Control J is our shortcut. And with that layer targeted, I want to extract the clouds from this to create a brush from it. And we're going to accomplish that utilizing our channels. Okay, so I'm going to go right over here to the channels option. Now notice that my layers and channels, libraries, my 3D and paths are all in one layer set here. And then right below the set, I have attached the properties. On the left hand side, I have my bar over here, my toolbar, in a double layer viewing. So by default, if I hit the little double arrow here is a single layer. I would prefer that you go to double layer because it's easier to visually track this way. Now let's go to our channels. What we're going to do is we're going to extract the cloud information utilizing our channels. The key to mastering Photoshop is mastering selections. In selections, channels and masks are one and the same. So if I take a look at the channels, I want to look at the value information, values meaning your grays, and I want to determine which one of these is going to give the best separation between the clouds and the background. Will it be my red channel, my green channel, and blue channel? We already know that a selection is a way to select localized imagery, but masks are exactly the same thing as a selection. Let me kind of give you a quick little understanding here. If I take my lasso tool and I make any type of shape, I can save that selection. Select menu, I'm going to save this selection. I'm going to leave it by default. I'm going to click OK. Where did it save the selection to? It saved it to channels right here. And there it is. I can alter this. All right. Let's go ahead and view the RGB composite. Command or Control D for deselect. I can alter this. Let's actually just go select it. Hit the B key for my brush. Hit the X key to switch my foreground and background color, so white's my foreground color, and I'm going to begin to make little additional edits to this. Now if I want to bring that channel back, I'm going to alter or select, load the selection. Load the selection from where? Let's pull this on over. Alpha 1. Select Alpha 1 and target OK, and there it is. The shortcut to bringing the selection back from a mask is Command or Control, click and release right here, and it gives you your selection. Okay, so the click and release. Now if I go back, I'm gonna hit Command or Control D for deselect. So in the future, if you see me deselect, then you know exactly what I'm doing. Command or Control D. I'm going to target this now, but I want to add more additions to it. So hit the X key so black is here, and I'm going to make a rectangle-like shape right in the middle. Now Command or Control, click and release. It's edited. All right. So channel selections and masks are exactly the same thing. All right, let's go on and do our job here. I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of this alpha channel. I don't need it anymore. And looking at this, it appears to me that the red channel is giving me the best separation from the background from this cloud. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate the cloud by dragging it onto the new channel icon on the left hand side of the garbage can, release it, and I'm making an additional alpha channel called red copy. Now I want to pull this cloud a little bit further from the background, so I'm going to use my apply image command. Apply image simply means apply an image with the blend mode on top of this. So what I want to do is I want to apply itself, or apply an image which is itself, using a blend mode. Image, apply image, and immediately by default I have multiply. So it's taking the image, applying it to itself, utilizing multiply blend mode. The multiply blend mode, or the darken section here, simply makes your image darker. It's taking the darker values, maintaining the integrity of the darker values, making your medium gray and your brighter values completely transparent. Here is doing the opposite. It's taking your medium gray and your darker values and making them transparent, but maintaining the integrity of your lighter values. So if I go to screen, you can see the whites are being applied to itself, but it's also being intensified. If I go to overlay, overlay is ignoring both your shadow values and your brighter values, or let me put it this way. It is ignoring the mid-tone values, but keeping the integrity of the shadow values and brighter values. I almost had it backwards there. So it's maintaining the integrity of the shadows and the highlights and making your medium grays go away. In effect, it's giving it more contrast. So it's favoring the shadows and favoring the highlights. That gives me a little better separation back here, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to keep that one. And of course, I can apply this in various opacities here, okay, by clicking and dragging on the word opacity. It's giving me a cleaner separation between the edge of those clouds and the background. So it's not exactly where I want it to be, because I want basically everything around the clouds to be black and the clouds to be the structure that I want to keep or become my brush. So remember, your brush is only going to apply to black values or white values when creating a brush. We're going to discover that in just a moment. Now go to image, apply image once again, and this time let's go to multiply to bring these darker values down. Okay, good. Now we have some darker values right back here, which is good. So we're separating the background from the clouds. I'm going to apply it again. Image, apply image. Instead of multiply, I'm going to try something like, let's try overlay and see what it looks like. Well, that's too strong, close, but how about if we go over to screen? That's going to bring my brighter values up. So I'm going to go with this here. I need to bring these darker values around the clouds down more. So here's where it gets fun. I'm going to go ahead and grab a different brush. In fact, I'm going to grab one of the soft edges brush default in Photoshop. And then I'm going to also darken these values down back here, separate them from the highlights. Here's a cool little trick. I want to affect the darker values without affecting the brighter values. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here and I'm going to grab a layer blend mode that I'm going to apply to the brush itself up here in the options bar and target overlay. If I hit the X key to switch the foreground color and background color to, in this case, to black, there we are. And if I begin to paint with black, it's only going to affect the medium gray and darker values and avoid the highlights completely. It did a great job here. Now don't forget that we can also come right over here and create a transfer where we have pen pressure set. Once I accomplish that, save that brush so I can keep it, always come back to it anytime. Now I can use pressure sensitivity. Okay, there we are. All I want to do is get a good separation from the clouds in the background. It's going to affect those darker values first. It's avoiding the lighter values. If I want to bring back the lighter values, hit the X key to go to white. And if I get in a little closer, get a better idea what's going to happen here. See, I'm starting to bring the highlights back, but avoiding the darks. Bring it down. I'm using my pen and tapping down on it. Hit the X key again. Maybe I'll make these areas a little darker around the edges. There we are. I think that'll work. Let's get right down in these little areas here. You can see the size of my brush. It looks good. All right, we're going to go with that. Okay. Spacebar and Option held down together, or spacebar and Alt held together gives me a subpixel resizing of my document. So wherever I click and hold and drag left to right, while holding down spacebar first, Alt or Option second together, gives me subpixel resizing and will allow me, wherever I click and drag, that's where it goes to. So keep in mind, that's a nice little handy tip. Now we have it pretty much selected. Let's not stress out about doing more work here. Let's go over to our lasso tool, lasso all this area here, and we're going to fill it with black. So since my foreground color is black, Option or Alt delete, it fills with the foreground color. Command or Control delete fills with the background color, which is white in this case. All right, so I'm going to hit Command D, deselect that, come up here, get a little closer. You can see over here that we still have it's kind of a darker gray instead of a black. Hit the B key. Overlay is still there, so that way I can come in here and just press harder and get a more solid black going on around here. So I really want this real solid. And I'm going to see what I want to do over here. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of all this, and I'm going to keep that little cloud there. There we go. I think that will work just fine. There's my brush. Now keep in mind that in order for Photoshop to make a brush, it's going to need black information. It uses darker information to define the brush. Brighter information such as white, it will completely avoid. So I need to inverse this. So Command I. So there is my brush right here. Okay. Now hit the M for the lasso tool, or for the marquee tool, I should say. In this case, I'm in a rectangular marquee tool. I'm going to select the brush here. So my center point is going to be directly in the center when I define it. Edit menu, define the brush preset. There it is. Now, all right, we have a fairly decent looking cloud. Now keep in mind, we can come in here anytime and edit these clouds. So remember, once again, once I'm in my brush tool and I stay inside of my overlay mode, if I paint with white, which I'm going to do now, I'm going to go ahead and switch these to foreground and background color, or use the X key on your keyboard, and I just paint, it's going to bring up some of these brighter values, as you can see here. So if you think we should have a little more contrast, a little more brightness in some of these areas, you have the option to do so, and vice versa with black. So now, I'm gonna assume I'm done editing, and I'm gonna define this as a brush preset now. Hit the M key for the marquee tool, and I'm gonna just simply drag across here to define my brush. Looking pretty good. Remember, your shape is going to define the center point within the center of the shape, and that's why I always like to use selection, where I can select it myself and determine where that will be. Edit menu, brush preset, there it is. Call it what you like. I'm going to click OK. All right, now it's done. So let's go ahead and apply this. Let's go and create our own background. Command D, get rid of that. Go to my selection, go to my layers. Make a brand new layer, and let's actually define the color of the clouds. So I'm going to use, now once I'm in the brush tool, and you can see right here I've actually defined the brush itself. It has the clouds. I'm going to right click, bottom click on the brush, or better yet, Alt right click gives me my eyedropper. Okay, now I'm going to take it and click right in here. So an Alt and click left click is what I meant to say. There we are. I'm going to select this, or I can drag across and we can see a definition of the color in comparison to the original foreground color on the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and target this here. That works pretty good. Now let's go ahead and create a gradient. I'm going to base the gradient on the blue values that I have here. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to target the eyedropper. So I'm going to let the foreground color be this darker deep blue. The background color, by holding Alt or Option, it'll define it as this lighter blue. I'll come down even further here, right about there. Hit the G key for gradient, which is selects it here. On my options bar, I'm going to make sure the option is going to be my foreground to background color, which you're going to see here. So that's going to come up. I want that one targeted, not this one. Click it. And I'm going to go to foreground to background. So hold the Shift key to constrain it to one vertical axis, or Y, and release it. So that's my sky. I can make a brand new layer. Hit the B for the brush. Now I need to go back and define that foreground color again, because I've played around with the eyedropper for the gradient. So I'm going to select it, hold the Alt key, go ahead and grab that brighter value there. All right, now I'm going to turn on the gradient layer, target the cloud layer, which is a brand new blank area, and when I click and release, and there's my clouds. Looks pretty realistic. Okay, looks great. And if I want to give a comparison, let's hit the D key to go to a pure white, hit the X key to go to white. Let's see it side by side. Put it right here next to it. That's even brighter. Okay, so it's up to you to decide how you want your clouds to look. Okay, and I can resize my brush and give some smaller clouds in the background. So it's a lot of fun.